Hello and welcome to Sunday Live with Sylvia. I'm Sylvia Hartmann, and in case you have never met me before, I am the creator of Modern Energy and the director of the Guild of Energists. I am not a psychologist, and that's a good thing because there are many of those. What we do is we work with modern energy. And what that means in a nutshell is that we take the living energy body of human beings 100% seriously. It is real, it exists, and it produces all of our emotions. And one of the things that we have and that we work with is the modern energy chart and the SU scale. That's absolutely foundational to what we're doing here. And so I'm going to show you quickly one of those. And I'm going to peek around the corner. Hello. So this is the foundation, really, of everything that we are doing in modern energy. At the top, we have the SU scale, which stands for Subjective Units of Experience, and comes from 2009. And what that does is we ask people to show us their emotional state, in what sort of emotional state they are in. Because the emotional state comes directly from the state the living energy body is in. And that's super important. That is the direct connection between the energy body and our emotions. And this chart that you are looking at here maps what happens when the energy body is doing well and when it is not doing well. So the SU scale at the top, that is our subjective units of experience, and the modern energy chart at the bottom, that is the objective description of the various states our energy body can inhabit. Now, what is fundamental and interesting about this is that the energy body states that we inhabit directly influence our physical body. Simply put, the higher up on the scale you are, the more physically capable you become. And the lower down you are, the more clumsy you become, the more likely you are to malfunction. And also obviously have immune system problems, stress, hives, and all the rest of it. What's also really important to understand is that the states of our energy body influences the way we think. That's super important. When you get sort of high up in the positive ranges, you become very loving, very compassionate, and at +10, you are in that state where, like a prophet, would love everything and understands that they are loved by God and they are a child of the universe. The lower down we go, the more disturbed and disturbing our thinking becomes, until we get to really disturbed energy states that start at -3 and then go down into absolute craziness. This is all perfectly measurable. It's perfectly reasonable and it's perfectly logical. However, it is not accepted by the mainstream, who still insists that it is only our brains and their electrical impulses that create all the insanity that human beings have been going through. So for my regular viewers, I hope you don't mind that I just made this quick introduction, because it could be so that some new people will find their way to this because of the title. And I wanted to give them just a short overview what we're going to be talking about, so we know what we're doing here. So I'm going to say good morning to Martin Ravensweaver, to Dearberg Collins, and I've got somebody I can't see here. Who is that? Pavel. Good morning, Pavel. Hello, my dear. All the way from Russia. Fantastic. And Marianne, good morning, my dear friends. Yes, I hope you don't mind that I went through that little bit, because for newbies, they often don't know what's going on and what I'm talking about. I am talking about our living energy body and what we can do in our daily lives to make that happier, to make that stronger, because that produces then stronger bodies, stronger immune systems, very important at the moment, and clearer, calmer, more logical thinking, which are all good things. So our motto is your happiness matters, because it is your happiness that really does express the level of your capability, of the good times that you're going to have, how much use you're going to be to your loved ones or anybody else you care for, and everything else. To bring people up the Sue scale, up the modern energy chart, to make them be happier, is what we do. This is our goal. This is what we're working about. And this is what we are researching. And we're finding various ways and structures to make that so, to make people happier. That's what the GOE does and what it is all about. So, yeah, there we are. It's really simple. I mean, it is a simple thing. A simple thing. Excuse me while I go and find a little overlay here, which I'm going to leave on the screen for a little while, as I say, just in case we have some newbies. So here's a little one, Sue scale. Yeah, where are you on the Sue scale today? Just slide your finger up, on the screen if you can, or just hover it above the screen and see where you are today. I'm sort of somewhere between a +4 and a +5 at the moment, but hopefully that'll get better. Hopefully that get better. Yeah, and so without any further ado, in fact, if you are here watching this video, please like and subscribe, especially on YouTube. Leave a little comment, not necessarily in the live stream chat, but actually under the video. That'll help find more people their way to what I believe is not just life-saving information. This is incarnation-saving information, and that's obviously, a lot more precious than just life-saving information, because what is a life worth when it's not worth living, when you're living in stress, in fear, in misery, in doubt, in anger, in rage? It's just a waste of a life. That's why I call modern energy incarnation saving, and I mean that. I do very much mean that. Okay, let's make that go away. So, yeah, our topic today, how exciting. Now, whenever there's a crisis, there will be grifters that will try and make money out of this crisis. Always get that. No matter where, there's people who spy an opportunity. And this opportunity, this great opportunity, was, of course, spied by our friends, the psychologists, and they came up with this wonderful new phrase, post-pandemic stress disorder, or PPSD, as they like to call it. And we are going to hear so much more about that term as time goes by. So, yeah, post-pandemic stress disorder. Of course, directly related to our old friend, post-traumatic stress disorder. And here I would like to mention and give a shout out to one of the greatest English language comedians of all times, a gentleman called George Carlin. And he pointed out quite some time ago that in the First World War, we had these soldiers who were so damaged by their time in the trenches, being shelled day and night, being in fear of life day and night, being unable to actually fight their way out, being stuck in an untenable position for such a long time and seeing their friends die around them. and living in completely inhumane conditions. And some of these people would experience what we used to call a nervous breakdown, when a person just melted down. And on the modern energy chart, that's the -7 point. That is when an energy system has become so stressed that it cannot take anymore, and it just melts down, completely breaks apart. And no amount of screaming and shouting at these soldiers helped them recover, no matter how much they were threatened with guns and execution and beatings and whatever else they had back in the day. They couldn't stop being absolutely freaked out. And this condition was called shell shock. Shell shock. That man suffers from shell shock. Now, I don't know whether they had this in the Roman army. I will have to look into this. Or whether this is a particular affliction of the particular inhumanity of modern wars. So I don't know. But George Carlin points out that shell shock was well recognized. Everybody knew what that was. But then the term, let's change the word, right? So in the Second World War, they didn't call it shell shock anymore. They called it battle fatigue. Fatigue. As though the poor people who suffered from this were just a little bit tired of war. Oh dear. Battle fatigue. Now then, George says the Korean War came along, and in the Korean War, we have now, because there weren't any proper battles in the sense anymore, a new word was found, and it was known as operational exhaustion. Operational exhaustion. We are now a very long way away from shell shock, but here comes the Vietnam War. And there we get then, instead of operational exhaustion, which, applies to soldiers and possibly firefighters and policemen. Let's make that a bit bigger. Call it post-traumatic stress disorder. And because, of course, the entire population, according to psychology, is traumatized, we can now diagnose everybody with that. And that's fantastic. Yes, but if we now actually go with the post-pandemic stress disorder, oh, wow, the customers, oh my, the entire world, not just English-speaking countries, everybody everywhere will suffer from post-pandemic stress disorder. Oh my, right. And then we can ask, of course, what do our friends, the psychologists, have learned from these 100-odd years of treating people with shell shock, battle fatigue, operational exhaustion, and post-traumatic stress disorder? Have they now figured out how to treat that so that people can go into treatment for, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and come out all healed the other side? And the answer to that, of course, is a resounding no. And there we come again then to, oh, well, if there's nothing the psychologists can do about it, or next to nothing, then, oh, well, we can give people drugs. That'll be great. That'll fix it. That'll fix it. No more problems after we've prescribed everybody to take their post-pandemic stress disorder drugs. Yeah. And here we can come back to modern energy and what we do, the way we think about this, right? So we think about this in terms of not a mechanical meltdown in a system of some kind, but we think in terms of a long-term understanding how your energy body works, how your stress levels affect what you are thinking, what you are doing, and to find as many ways how we can raise energy, go up the scale as we possibly can. And that's like super important. That's what we do. That's what we're all about. And there was a particular breakthrough with that. How can we make people happier? How can we help them to be at home every day alone with their thoughts and their beings, or not even alone, but being responsible for running households, families, factories, work, companies? How can we make it so that a person can come into a position of taking responsibility for their own energy states and to have effective ways of dealing with negative energy states? Like, so when you have a headache, you go in the cupboard, you open the cupboard, you take a pill, and 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later, hopefully your headache will be gone. And I see modern energy techniques in that way. So you're starting to think thoughts that you know you would never think on a good day. Like, oh, this is all terrible. The environment is melting down. There's nothing I can do. I can't cope anymore. Hopefully we'll get to a point where long before such thoughts come to you, you'll have done something about it. But let's just say, for argument's sake, it just sort of happened. You find yourself in a deeply negative energy state. What do we do then? Well, there is a whole range of modern energy techniques to raise energy as pretty fast. And one of the best and latest ones that we have found is Star Matrix, which is a focus not on trauma for a change, but on things that you love. To focus on something you love and to learn how to do that. And this is not difficult. This is not difficult. This does not take years of meditation to learn to focus on something that you love in a moment of crisis. It really isn't. I'm going to show that in case there's some people here that have never seen this before. We have this simple thing called the heart position. And that's where you point to yourself when you say, oh, me, this is me. Yeah, I, that point. And we put the leading hand over the top of that point and the other hand over the top of that. And we take a deep breath in and out. And if you want, you can take another deep breath in and out. That stabilizes us enough to start now literally saying, okay, I'm going to think about something that I love. Let's say, for example, you love kittens. So you can focus on kittens, happy, playful little kittens, innocent, carefree, so cute. And as you do that, even just for 15 seconds, you start to feel better. You start to feel more in control. And you might like to think of something else that you love. Perhaps you love motorbikes or airplanes. I don't know. Or perhaps you love an actor or a singer or a person from history. Perhaps you love Alexander the Great. Or perhaps you love a saint, or from your religion, a prophet. Perhaps you love those. You can focus on that. That works. Or you could focus on a family member, a child, a grandchild, a partner. And as you do that, you can feel your entire body starting to change. Your breathing becomes deeper. You become calmer all over. And what that is you're rising up the energy chart. That is one basic technique of literally thousands of different ways to help us take control of our living energy bodies in our actual lived realities, in our day-to-day dealings. The modern energy chart is the key to understand yourself and other people in a totally different way. When somebody is ranting on the Karen phenomena, that's so perfect. These are people who they're having a meltdown. They're at -7. There's no rhyme, no reason left. They're just flailing and thrashing about. And the people who are always close to that state, and you're just expecting them any minute now to go into a Karen explosion, be they men or women, it matters not, or anything else. These people who are always sitting there on that -6 knife blade, waiting just for the smallest opportunity, so it seems, to just go. Well, they're very stressed people. You can even track political and economic systems according to the modern energy chart and the Suez scale. You can track where the zeitgeist was located on the modern energy chart in order to create that sort of philosophy, that sort of government, that sort of thinking in the population or in the tribe. It's absolutely fascinating. I feel personally, we can't get any further as human beings until we start understanding our emotions. And in order to understand our emotions, we have to take that living energy body into consideration and understand how that works. So that's my life's mission. That's what I do when I'm having fun. Oh, hello there, Martina. Hello, Martina. Welcome. Lovely to have you here. Okay, guys. Yeah, so what do you think? With the post-pandemic stress disorder, what can we do to help people? What can we do? We have people who specialize in what we call modern stress management, which is working with the Suez scale and the modern energy chart, just showing it to people. Children as small as 3 can look at the modern energy chart and recognize these states. I'm going to put that back up again because that was so much fun. There we go. Peek around the corner. You give this to a child and you say to the child, you don't have to say that to the child, but you could say it to the child. Now, look, this is not 10 different people. This is one person, but they're in different energy states. They're in different emotional states. And you can say to a 3-year-old kid, can you point to me where you like your mummy the best and where you don't like your mummy? And what your mummy says and does when she's in that state. And a 3-year-old can take you through that, step by step, without blinking an eye, It's simple, it's obvious, it's observed behavior. We can see this everywhere and all the time. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Yeah, so what do we do when we get somebody who's there at -8? See, after you've had that freak out, the total nervous breakdown, which was a great word for it. It's a shame we don't use it anymore. After you had the nervous breakdown there at -7, what do we then do with a person who's in that depression state after that? What do we do with them? Well, we show them the heart position and remind them of something that they love to start spooling the energy system up. We would discuss with them what else makes them happy, what they can possibly do during the day, during the night, what they can do to make themselves feel better. We can teach them some simple energy techniques as well. We can do all sorts of things to move them up the chart. And that's the only thing that counts, is to find ways to move individuals up the chart, past that horrible 0 points where you feel nothing, you are nothing, you have no hopes, you have no dreams, you have no fears. It's a terrible place is having no emotions. Up to the one where people start waking up at +3, where they have so much energy, they can actually take inspired action and build something, create reality, do something, rather than just destroy something, which is the hallmark of -7. Just go berserk and flail around and kick everything into the ground. And then there are those beautiful states of, anywhere +7 upwards, fantastic, where we feel alive, the colors are bright, gravity doesn't bother us. We feel healthy in mind, body, and spirit. Yeah. So, yeah. So is this a big sales speech for modern energy? Of course it is. Of course it is. More people should know this. It would help families function better. It would help, children understand their parents better, parents to understand their children better. Would the philosophers finally start understanding themselves better and realize that half their philosophies were made from really negative energy states where, neither love nor logic would reside? Ooh, yeah. Marianne says, I was in a pretty low state this morning. Oh, you might have watched the news. I did. I was quite depressing. But I did some emo with your beautiful blue pyramid and now feel in a much better state. Yeah, EMO, energy in motion, is one of the core techniques of modern energy, which simplifies this whole emotion thing. Instead of talking about it for hours and hours and hours or years on end, we simply say to a person when they say, oh, I feel so upset about something. We ask them, where do you feel that upset in your body? Show me with your hands. Show me. They will show me. And then we can do something with that. Because there's some blockage in the energy body, not in the physical body, and certainly not in the mind. Oh, working with the energy body is just so good. It gives us so many different ways of making something happen when before nothing could happen. You're just sitting around talking. Talking doesn't cure a damn thing. And sometimes when you're talking, something happens in the energy body. And actually, that is what's done it. The actual energy movement did it. But that's so hit and miss. People can be in therapy for 50 years and that never happens. 3 times a week at that. That's a lot of therapy. Wow. Yeah, so our post-pandemic stress disorder. What can we do about it? Well, we can certainly offer an alternative. The Guild of Energists has currently around 2,000 members, which are strewn about. We can tell more people about this simple thing that is the modern energy chart. We can certainly apply modern stress management to this. And what that isn't is digging in trauma. When you've got somebody who's already depressed and disturbed and their energy system is all over the place, the very last thing we want to be doing is taking them into a room and then talking about the worst trauma of the pandemic. This is just not the way forward. This is not the way forward. This is not going to help people. This is going to drive people into medication, and I'm going to stand up and say that here openly. That is not the way forward. If you really do have somebody who's deeply distressed and exhausted, shell-shocked, battle-fatigued, operational exhaustion, like the nurses and the doctors and so many other people who have, put their best into it for an emergency situation, which should have only lasted at the very most for a week. And then to maintain that for weeks, months, and now years is going to lead to operational exhaustion, which is shell shock. And these people all need to be stabilized before we start digging in any trauma. They all need proper triage. They all need fluids, They all need to be stabilized before we can go in there with the knives for further operations. They need modern stress management. And above all else, they do not need to be told, on top of everything else that they have to worry about, is that they're now insane by presupposition or in any other way. Every normal human being, when they are put under this much stress and with this many ways to cut off natural replenishment of energy, no holidays, no friends, no parties, no fun, nothing. Every normal human being is going to have operational exhaustion. Everyone, everybody. And that's for a population that I've warned about in 2011 and said we are in a $1 trillion stress crisis already. That was 10 years ago I said that. And that was true already 10 years ago. So, yeah, what we can do is to go on with what we've been doing, to keep telling people that the entire philosophy of strict materialism, which forbids us to talk about energy, to talk about the living energy body, to talk about emotions, has failed. It has failed. We had 100 years of this, and it has failed. It had failed way before 2011, when, I finally said, okay, this is no good. We need something better. We need something new. And created modern stress management, which is a different way of dealing with this whole thing. So I believe that especially Star Matrix is going to help people stabilize, because what we have to remember is somebody who is suffering from operational exhaustion, shell shock, battle fatigue, post-traumatic stress disorder, post-pandemic stress disorder, they can't just be cured like that. They absolutely need to rebuild the strength in their energy system over time by starting to do the right things that will make them stronger and to stay away from the wrong things that make them weaker, so that they can be in their daily lives, live their lives properly, and know how to maintain a good, healthy energy system. And that's individual, that's personal. There are some basic things that apply to every human being. And one of them is not to constantly look at negative trauma, critical thinking. That is so destructive to human energy systems. It is very difficult to overestimate just how destructive that is, how much stress that causes, additional stress, and how this will drive people into behaving in crazy, crazy ways that are totally and utterly unhelpful and destructive to themselves and everybody else who has to deal with it. We need people to come back to their senses, literally come back to their senses. And that's not 5 senses, that is 6. The 6th sense is our emotions. What we need to learn to do is to have better emotions more often to stabilize ourselves. This is not sticking your head in the sand. This is not ignoring the multitude of problems that exists. That is moving ourselves personally, individually, and societally into a better space where the decisions that we make are reasonable, rational, logical, and loving, for the love of God, loving. And that they produce things, structures, ideas that actually work with living people in the real world. That's my number one thing. I don't fight for the environment. I don't fight for anything other than to bring people into better states, emotional states, so that what they are doing makes more sense, is more reasonable, and is just more helpful to everything. That's the key for me. That's absolutely the key for me, where we have to put the intention there. That's that leverage point that we have over all the problems of humanity, is put humanity in, take them out of stress, make them happier. Humanity has to become happier before anything else can get better. I believe that 100%, and I stand by it. And it works for every single works for every single individual just the same. It works for every single individual just the same. You need to be happier and stronger before you can make the good decisions that you need to make for your life to become happier, more meaningful, your reality creation better, your support or impact on other people, on your society greater, your power, empowering. You need to be empowered. We need to empower human beings first before we tear down anything or build anything. Happier people build better things. New slogan. Oh, let's have a look. Friends are saying here, a family has long COVID. We used modern energy techniques. Within 10 minutes, she felt more clarity and more energy. Well, yes, everything works better when you put a bit more energy into it. Everything works better. There is 1 billion studies. Okay, perhaps not 1 billion, but there's countless studies that show that happier people heal faster, remember more, are physically more coordinated than unhappy people. Even the materialistic sciences have noticed this. They haven't done anything with it. It's still driving people into stress. They haven't done anything with this. But there's literally endless studies that, say that. And we don't need endless studies. We know this from ourselves and from other people, that when people are on song, when they're on a good day, that they are just better people. They perform better. They're nicer to be around. To have more better days should be our first priority for everybody, for our politicians, for our leaders, for everyone. That's so funny. And this is so once you've seen it, once you've seen that energy thing, how it works, how it creates emotions, it is so, why do people not see this? It's so simple. A 3-year-old can get its head around that. Ilka. Everybody should learn how to deal with stress, negative emotions, how to bring up the energy system, because the truth is, from a depressed state, we can go on to a happy state, being creative quickly. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Our thoughts can influence our energy system amazingly. We just think the right things, like in the example with the kitten, and instantly our energy system spools up. It's so reactive to that. And people don't know that. And so they keep thinking these hideous things and are wondering why they get ever more angry, ever more stressed, ever more crazy, ever more depressed, until we got the operational exhaustion. See, I'm going to go with the operational exhaustion, because that's really exact. That's a good term. It might not have been for the Korean War, but it is a good term for where we are with this post-pandemic thing. It's operational exhaustion. And that is only curable, and not just curable, reversible, but actually, see, it wasn't as though we were functioning at 100% before the pandemic. I was worried as hell about the state of the Western world before the pandemic. In 2011, I was worried. So worried, I wrote a book about it. The $1 trillion stress solution. I was worried then. Now, we are on the other side. It has happened. The great stress tsunami has happened and has swept possibly the vast majority of population, of all ages, of all incomes, everyone, all races, all ideological beliefs, into operational exhaustion. And I'm sorry to say that psychology has no treatment for operational exhaustion at all. None. But we do. And that's what we do. That's what we do in the modern energy. This is what we do. This is modern stress management. This is learning how to master your emotions, if you will. Understand them, work with them, use them as the, oh man, our emotions are a set of dials and flashing lights on the dashboard of an airplane, the cockpit of an airplane. That's what they are. They are there to show us what's going on with something that we cannot see. What can I say? Yeah, emotions are important, really, really important. And it is important now to go out and tell more people about this business. A person who is in a state of operational exhaustion cannot undergo trauma treatment. Absolutely should not undergo trauma treatment. It's counterproductive, dangerous, and doesn't help them in their day-to-day experience, which is what people need. Oh, that was an impassioned speech. An impassioned speech. Okay, let's not make this too long. We don't want to bore people. So, let's have a look what Sally says. Hello, Sally. Interesting how they stopped the singing and the dancing. Yes, I was worried way before as well. They put everyone in the fear on purpose. Yep, it's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. If I scroll through the news feed once in a while, and, it's anything we're not supposed to be going into utter panic about. This endless global warming panic. This is not the way to solve that problem. Terrifying people and making them stress crazy. This is not the way to solve that problem. This is the way to get civilizations to collapse if you keep piling on this stress. And that's literal. Literal. People go crazy. You get 100,000 people or 1 million people go to -7. There'll be nothing left standing at the end of the day. There'll be blood in the streets. Simple. It's true. Ilka says, I love the term operational exhaustion because it's so accurate expressing what's going on. Yes, it is. It's actually, out of all of those, it's the best term to describe the situation of somebody who's been, stuck in their they're stuck in their little flat with the kids for all this time, with no support, no outlet, no incoming energy, no joy, no fun, nothing to look forward to. This is operational exhaustion, absolutely. So, yeah. But the term that, of course, is going to be used to set up some kind of treatment, be it drug treatment, there'll be people grifting off of the post-pandemic stress disorder, of course. Of course. So, but we'll be here. We'll keep telling people about the modern energy chart. We'll keep telling people that we're not psychologists. We work with the living energy body. And when you do that, you instantly feel the shifts in how you feel, and you start to feel better. And that's what the world needs. That's what human beings need. They need to learn how they can feel better without drugs and without weirdness, and understand the direct path to feeling better. I would also say that a star matrix, a book of stars, is a real thing. I have to say it, I'd beat myself up if I hadn't said it. So just your own personal book of stars with positive memories in it, the positive memories of your life in it, to keep doing that as a regular thing, to keep you on track and remind you of your strengths, remind you of your intelligence, remind you of who you really are. That's an ongoing thing that I think will really help a lot of people. A lot of people. Solutions, yes, absolutely. Okay, guys, so I will end here with this. I thank you so much for being here with me this morning in person. Really appreciate it. And I hope you are going to keep going and tell people your happiness matters. It's really important that you should be happier, and that you should be happier first before you make any great life decisions. And certainly, please also tell people out there that they are not crazy. They are normal people who are suffering from operational exhaustion now after all of this time. And that it's nothing to do with being crazy or mentally ill or having a mental illness that can be fixed with a drug, no matter how strange and wonderful the name might be. You are not mentally ill. You've been stressed for a long, long time. And this is why you feel the way you do and you're having the symptoms you have. So this is a basic starting point to stabilize people and give them back a sense of cause and effect between their emotions and their thoughts and what's happening in their lives, to empower them, to bring down. That's it, really, spinning up these exhausted energy systems, re-empowering these exhausted energy systems. That's the way forward. That's the way to go. And once we are in a better state, then we can start thinking and talking about all the other problems that we have. And then we might even come up with some good solutions, which would be great. Oh, this is nice. Thank you, Sylvia. I'm starting meetups from my home in August. Can have 5 at a time. Exciting. Fantastic. Yes. This is never going to be told to you by the government. This is absolutely grassroots, one person telling another living human being about this. So you are the guys to do that at this point. There's only few of us, but it makes sense, and in the name of love and logic and a better future for humanity, I really, really appreciate your support and being here with me at this very beginning of a more rational way of dealing with humans and their emotions. So I'd like to bless you all very much. Thank you very much for making it to the end of this broadcast. If you are new, there is a link to my free ebook called Revolution, which has sort of the basic principles of modern energy in it, and is well worth looking at, reading, considering again if you've already seen that. Thank you so much for being here with me. I look forward to seeing you again soon. And for next week's Sunday Live with Sylvia, wishing you a fantastic week. Stay strong, stay empowered. Your happiness matters more than you ever thought. Lots of love, and bye for now.